The morning mist clung to the evergreen trees like a delicate shroud, wrapping the small mountain town of Cedar Falls in quiet mystery. Emma Matthews stood at her bedroom window, watching the fog roll across the valley below. Her fingers traced the condensation on the glass as she tried to calm the nervous flutter in her chest. Today was supposed to be the most important day of her life. Today, she would finally meet her arranged mate, Alpha Marcus Blackwood of the Northern Ridge Pack. The union had been planned since childhood, a political alliance between two powerful werewolf families that would bring peace to the territories. Emma had never seen Marcus in person, only heard stories of his strength and leadership. Their parents had exchanged letters and photographs over the years, but the formal introduction had been postponed again and again due to pack conflicts and territorial disputes. Now, at 25, Emma felt the weight of expectation pressing down on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. She moved away from the window and walked to her dresser, where her grandmother's pearl necklace lay waiting. The ancient mating ceremony would take place at sunset, according to tradition. The pearls felt cold against her skin as she fastened the clasp, their smooth surface reflecting the pale morning light. The drive to the ceremony site took Emma through winding mountain roads bordered by towering pines. Her father, Beta Thomas Matthews, gripped the steering wheel tightly, his weathered hands showing the tension they all felt. Her mother sat silently in the passenger seat, occasionally glancing back at Emma with encouraging smiles that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Remember, sweetheart," her mother said softly, "the moon blessing ceremony is sacred. Once the ritual begins, the bond cannot be broken. The moon goddess herself will witness your union." Emma nodded, though her stomach churned with uncertainty. She had always imagined that when she met her true mate, she would feel an instant connection, a pull that spoke to her very soul. Instead, she felt only nervous anticipation mixed with resignation. The ceremony clearing appeared through the trees like something from a fairy tale. Ancient stone circles formed a natural amphitheater, with torches already burning despite the daylight hours. Members of both packs had gathered, their faces solemn with the weight of tradition. The air hummed with supernatural energy, making Emma's wolf stir restlessly beneath her skin. As Emma stepped from the car, her enhanced senses picked up the rich scents of pine, wood smoke, and something else, something wild and intoxicating that made her pulse quicken. She followed the scent trail with her eyes, searching the gathered crowd. That's when she saw him. He stood near the eastern edge of the circle, tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair that caught the filtered sunlight. His presence commanded attention without effort, and when their eyes met across the clearing, Emma felt the world shift beneath her feet. Recognition flowed through her like warm honey, not the recognition of sight, but something deeper, more primal. Her wolf responded immediately, practically purring with contentment. This was what she had been waiting for her entire life. This magnetic pull, this sense of coming home. But as Emma moved toward him, another man stepped forward from the western side of the clearing. This second man was equally impressive, with the same dark hair and commanding presence. The family resemblance was unmistakable. "Emma Matthews," the second man said, extending his hand with a formal smile. "I am Alpha Marcus Blackwood. It's an honor to finally meet you." Emma's world tilted sideways. She glanced between the two men, confusion clouding her thoughts like morning fog. Marcus, her intended mate, stood before her with polite courtesy, but she felt no connection to him at all. The magnetic pull, the sense of rightness, all of it pointed to the other man, who watched the interaction with carefully controlled expression. "I'm pleased to meet you as well," Emma managed to say. Though her voice sounded distant to her own ears, the ceremony preparations began immediately. The pack elders took their positions around the stone circle, their voices rising in ancient chants that seemed to make the very air vibrate with power. Emma found herself standing beside Marcus as tradition demanded, but her attention kept drifting to the other man. "Who is he?" she whispered to Marcus during a pause in the proceedings. Marcus followed her gaze, and his expression tightened slightly. "That's my brother, Dane. He's been helping with the territorial negotiations." Something in Marcus's tone made Emma look at him more closely. There was resignation in his eyes, and perhaps something else relief. As the sun began its descent toward the horizon, the final phase of the ceremony approached. The moon blessing required both parties to drink from the sacred chalice and speak the binding words under the emerging moon. Once completed, the magical bond would be permanent and unbreakable. Emma's hands trembled as she held the chalice. The liquid inside shimmered with an otherworldly light, and she could feel the power radiating from it like heat from a fire. This was her last chance to voice any doubts, but how could she explain the inexplicable pull she felt toward Marcus's brother? "Wait," Marcus said suddenly, his voice carrying across the silent gathering. "I cannot proceed with this ceremony." Gasps rippled through the crowd like wind through wheat. Emma stared at him in shock. The chalice still heavy in her hands, Marcus turned to face the assembled packs, his shoulders straight with determined resolve. "The moon goddess has shown me the truth. My brother Dane is Emma's true mate, not me. I have known this since the moment she arrived, and I cannot stand in the way of a genuine moon-blessed bond." Emma's heart stopped beating for a moment, then resumed at double speed. She looked at Dane, who stepped forward from the crowd, his eyes locked on hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. "Is this true?" Elder Patricia asked, her ancient voice carrying the weight of authority. "Do you feel the mate bond, child?" Emma's wolf practically sang with joy as she nodded. "Yes," she whispered, then stronger. "Yes, I do." The next few minutes passed in a blur of hushed conferences between the pack elders and family leaders. Ancient laws were consulted, precedents discussed. Finally, Elder Patricia raised her staff for silence. "The moon goddess does not make mistakes," she declared. "If the true mate bond exists, it must be honored. The ceremony will proceed, but with the correct pairing." As Dane took Marcus's place beside her, Emma felt a sense of rightness settle over her like a warm blanket. His hand found hers, and the simple touch sent sparks of electricity up her arm. This was what she had been waiting for her entire life. The ceremony concluded as the full moon rose above the tree line, its silver light bathing the clearing in ethereal beauty. When Emma and Dane spoke the binding words and shared the sacred cup, the magical bond that formed between them felt as natural as breathing. Later, as the celebration continued around them, Emma and Dane found a quiet spot at the edge of the clearing. The stars scattered across the sky like diamonds, and the night air carried the scent of pine and possibility. "I knew the moment I saw you," Dane said softly, his thumb tracing circles on the back of her hand. "I just never imagined you were meant for Marcus." Emma leaned into his warmth, feeling perfectly content for the first time in her life. Maybe this is how it was always supposed to happen. Maybe we had to take the long way around to find each other. The moon smiled down on them, blessing their union with silver light and infinite promise. Sometimes the best things in life came from the most unexpected places, and sometimes what seemed like a mistake was actually destiny wearing a clever disguise. In the distance, wolves howled their approval to the night sky, and Emma knew she was exactly where she belonged.